I'd like to officially call the board meeting to order. The time is 7:06. Roll call, please.
All right. Simmons? Nelson? Always something. Grace? Here. Lethman?
Here.
Paredes? Huckabee?
Here.
Or
Here, and a quorum is present. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We will get started. The first item on our agenda are audience comments. Do not know. No? Okay. Superintendent's report.
Sure, actually, summer construction is in full effect. We're hard at work at all the buildings, completing their projects, but also trying to make sure that we are cleaning as fast as humanly possible. We're continuing with student registration, continuing with residency checks, making sure that everything is prepared as possible for the start of the school year. At the administration level, we have our retreats next week, where we'll go work with the engineers at Forecast 5, who not only handle our financial software, but also handle all of our student data currently. So we are getting pretty close on our dashboards for that. Then the next day, we'll do some work with psychologists. We'll do some personality evaluations of our administrative team and make sure that we are focused on all of our strengths and really building people up based on their strengths, their opportunities for improvement, and their path forward. But really, we're about 5 weeks away from school. Our next board meeting is not until August 13th. So we have a lot to get done over the next month and a week.
Any questions? Next item on the agenda, we have 3 committee reports: Equity and Inclusion, Finance Committee, and Community and Engagement Committee. I, or you, or we both, will do a report out on the Equity and Inclusion Committee. We can keep it brief.
So Equity and Inclusion, last week we sent out our 17-18 handbook information, and specifically the Board of Education policies in section 7, which is focused on students, looking for opportunities that we really want to dig into those areas specifically. Are there areas where we do need to use an equity lens? So the committee will start going through all that information, and we'll come back together in the next couple of weeks. I need to speak with Dr. Griggs about time to meet with the group, and then once we have an opportunity to break down all those different areas, it really sets our path forward on the work we want to get accomplished.
And I will add, we did last month when we met, we started our discussion based off of a shared reading, and I can't remember the name of the book, but you remember the name? Not because you didn't learn from it. Carolyn. Thank you. She's carrying it around.
Teaching for Diversity.
Teaching for Diversity, yes. So we all read that book, and I think all the board members as well received a copy of that book. So we actually had a very robust conversation, discussion around the book, and a lot of the ideas about how we want to move forward and what we want to look at came out of that. But I think the goal of reading it was so that we can all sort of get on the same page in terms of language and how we were thinking about the whole topic of equity and inclusion. Anything else? Karen, you want to add anything? That's good. Finance Committee.
That's me, I guess.
That's Mr. Simmons.
We met for the second time earlier today. Ms. Blackman, myself, Fran, and Dana. We ended fiscal 18 with a small surplus of $1.3 million. We have a tentative budget approval later on tonight's agenda. It reflects about a $3.75 million deficit due to the construction projects for which we are paying the fund balance. Later this week, a budget book will be delivered to the board for fun summertime reading and perusal. We have a committee meeting set for August 9th, at which we will review the draft budget and presentation that Fran will lead at the August committee of the whole meeting, where the budget will be presented, reviewed, and discussed with the entire board. And then at the September regular meeting, September 10th, I believe, the budget will be presented for approval. We also had a discussion of a number of other topics, including potential summer construction projects over the coming 3 to 5 years around things like air conditioning in buildings that don't currently have them, enhancements to the entrances in a few buildings, and some other things. Our team was encouraged to build out a list of wants and needs over the coming 5 to 10 years and periodically review those with the board as we go and look for summer projects to keep the physical plant and other parts of the district up to par. We also had a discussion about sources and uses of funds. You can think of that as sources being 3 general buckets: the federal, state, and local. Federal, not much to speak of with regards to our district. State traditionally not living up to its promises to be the majority funding source for local school districts. And then from a local perspective, industrial, commercial, and residential. In this particular community, we don't have much industrial or commercial to speak of, and so the heaviest burden falls on residential taxpayers. And then uses of funds, which is essentially the district is a roughly $33 million operation that we've got to pay for, the collective we, using some or all of those sources mentioned previously, and then focusing on ways to make sure that the operations are as efficient as possible without materially affecting in a negative way our students' educational experience. And one area that we highlighted for potential efficiency is in transportation. I'm sure over the coming weeks we may find additional ones, but that tentative budget that we're going to ask for approval for later tonight is still kind of a living, breathing document, but it gets us in the ballpark of what we'll see on September 10th and discuss in a couple of weeks prior to that. I'm happy to take any questions or ask Ms. Blackman or Fran or Dana to fill in anything I missed.
It's a great report. And
My pleasure.
can you just refresh our memory, Fran, or maybe John, you might remember. So, was it this year that we had Green and Associates doing an assessment that's looking at capital improvements
So it's not
going
Green,
forward?
it's not Green doing it, it's School Dude, it's a whole
Okay,
separate thing.
School Dude, okay.
And we have the draft documents, they're literally this high. Scott and I are finishing going through them, we're hoping to have final reports for the board in August, at the August committee of the whole, so that they'll have a kind of another document of what facility needs are in place for the entire district. So we're still working on that, but yes, it is coming to an end of where we'll have a good document.
And so, do you have a placeholder for that number in the budget now?
Remember, that's everything that we could potentially need, so
Okay.
it's more for the projections than it is for this year's budget.
I think the total is around $16 trillion.
Carol, you can just wrap it
That
up.
video was
Any other questions, comments? Any questions or comments on the phone, Cam?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Community engagement report.
So we're busy working on our efforts for the meet and greet, which is in August. It's on August 17th, it's moving in the park. So we'll have our cart out with Sardinos, Italian ice, and a few other things to kind of engage the community along those lines. What we'll do is we'll put some more information out on Facebook, on the website about the meet and greet. We'll also do Chalk the Walk, and that's the day before school, so that will be on Wednesday, August 22nd. And we'll hand out the chalk at the meet and greet, which is at Westmont Park, and then also have it on site on Wednesday, August 22nd. We're planning our first dessert with District 161 for the 18-19 school year. That will be September 13th at 6:30 p.m. That's at Parker Junior High, and the focus is on parents as partners. In District 161, ways that parents can engage, not only with each individual school, but with the district, how to best communicate with the school, with the board, with other administrations, where to get information and support for our parents, ways to access curriculum resources. We have a new math series last year, we have a new literacy series this year that's a lot of information that parents will have access to. So those are just a couple of things that we'll share, but also a calendar of trainings for the year. We offer quite a few parent activities and community resource activities. We want to have all that information in the hands of our parents right at the beginning of the school year. So community engagement committees are pretty busy, but that's where we're at so far.
Oh, well, we did discuss rotating meetings next year, 4 meetings between here and Parker. Any questions or comments? Okay, we have a number of consent agenda items. I'd like to pull approval of District Title I plans out. Is that questions? So I need an approval, please. I'm sorry, can I have a motion, please? I'm mentally ill. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the following consent agenda items? Minutes of the regular Board of Ed meeting, June 11th, executive session meeting, June 11th, special Board of Ed meeting, June 25th, and executive session meeting, June 25th. August board topics, approval of the board meeting schedule change, approval of Chromebooks replacement program, approval of the memorandum of understanding, FBA contract, section 5.7 teacher meetings, approval of speed classroom lease, gift, district PTO retirement gifts, and June financials.
Michelle, for the 2 executive session minutes for June 11th and June 15th, that was consent agenda. There's a minor adjustment.
Will do. So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items with both the District Title I plans pulled out, as well as both executive session meeting minutes from June 11th and June 25th. Need a second, please?
Second.
Roll call?
Nelson?
Yes.
Blackman? Yes. Utley? Yes. Simmons?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes, the motion is passed. Can I have a motion, please, to approve, for the approval of District Title I plans? Take a motion.
So moved.
Need a second, please?
Second.
Okay, discussion. Just had a quick question. I just wanted to make sure, I think the last time we discussed this, we had asked for a description or a budget to see how we use the funds last year. Just to see where we were with the spending of the funds. We just want to make sure we never run into, I'm sure we never will, having to ever return funds. So if we can just see
Yep.
how we spent and that we're good to go. And
Would you want us to highlight that in the budget that comes out, as far as?
If I can suggest, this year we extended our grant to go until the end of August. So I think we're still spending because we have curriculum materials that we purchased over the summer, and we added positions as well. probably the first or second board meeting in August would be a good time to take a look at that because we'll be finishing our spending for the year.
So we could wait till the August 13th meeting, or we can do it back at the envelope.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the whole purpose is, I just want to make sure we're spending, that the money will all be spent. We don't have to return
Yeah, absolutely.
anything, but it also would just be good to look at, how the money was spent this past year and then how you are planning.
Last year, I believe we provided a pie chart that gave the breakdown of where we spent the funds in different categories. We could do the same for this year. Last year our grant ended in July, this year it's ending at the end of August, so there's additional time in our grant.
I think that's fine.
September.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can, I mean, I have no problems approving this now, but
Sure.
we can see the budget breakdown. Any other questions? Roll call?
Blackman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Huckabee. Yes. Briggs,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion, please, to approve June 11th and June 25th to 2018 executive session minutes?
Second.
Discussion? Pam?
I said to, I'm not going to discuss all of this in open session or executive session minutes, but I had some minor revisions to just the description of the minutes. In the June 11th minutes, we have some items that there's sort of looks like we have question marks in there. I just saw the June 11th minutes today. They weren't up. Well, just shortly before the meeting, but seems like we should probably fill in where there's question marks.
Yeah, so we can pull those and just bring them back for approval for next month,
Okay.
based on comments that we've sent. Okay. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, we have a number of discussion items. The first item is AFSC&E versus GIMS.
Sure. I'd like to welcome the board attorney, John Fester. He's requested that we invite John after the June 27th Supreme Court ruling in the Janus case. So he's agreed to come, answer any questions that the board may have.
Good evening. Just before you get to any questions, let me give you an overview of what happened. You probably heard about this. It was in the news quite a bit at the end of June, where the Supreme Court decided an Illinois case of AFSCME versus Janus, and Janus being an AFSCME employee downstate. To take you back to the history of this, in the 1970s, there was a challenge versus the Detroit Board of Education in a case called Abu versus Detroit Board of Education, where an individual who was a member of a union said, the union does some political things, and I don't think my dues should be used to support the union's political aspirations. I might disagree with that. The way the Supreme Court settled that in 1977 was to say, okay, we understand that, but you're also getting the benefits of the union's organization, the union's contract bargaining, you're getting the protections of the contract, etc. So what we're going to do is say if you object to the union's political activities, the union can carve out that portion of dues that goes to political lobbying, political activities, etc., and you don't have to pay those. And so what you became known as was a fair share fee payment. The name being that you paid your fair share of the union's costs to bargain a contract, to enforce the contract, to protect your rights as an employee. So that existed from 1977 until June this month, last month, in the AFSCME and Janus case. This was a similar challenge, and this time Janus brought the arguments that you can't separate out everything that the union does and say, well, this is political, but this isn't. Janus's arguments were that bargaining itself, it raises issues of public concern, of how public funds are spent, on how teachers are paid, on how community everything that the contract affects can in essence become political. And therefore you can't carve out, I shouldn't have to support, this is Janice, I shouldn't have to support a private organization that I disagree with on issues of First Amendment speech. And in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court said, we agree with Janice. So Abood from 1977 was overruled, and fair share no longer exists across the country. So any contracts that had a fair share clause, which was virtually everyone, had a fair share clause in it. All of those clauses became illegal on June 29th when the decision came out. And in essence, though, before everybody got all, you hear a lot of stuff worked up on both sides. What this doesn't do is fundamentally change your relationship with the FEA. It doesn't change any school district's relationship with their elected union. So what it does is it removes a single clause. Okay, so the fair share clause is gone. So anybody who was a fair share fee payer stopped paying those fees as of June 29th. Okay, and we had discussions with the IEA, the IFT, the School Board Association, everybody agreed. I mean, even the union sent out letters to everyone saying, please stop, don't take any more fair share money because we don't want to have to refund it. And I think we were pretty successful. We had a few districts doing payrolls June 30th that had already gone electronically to the bank and couldn't be stopped, but the refunds are being made. So in essence, the fair share fees are over. And what it means now is that anybody who does not affirmatively join the union as a member, and this is different, mind you, than just being a member of the bargaining unit. A bargaining unit consists of jobs. So in this district, you have a wall-to-wall bargaining unit. Teachers and the vast majority of support staff. Everybody except exempt employees like administrators and confidential employees are basically in the FEA bargaining unit. Okay, so that means you're covered by the contract, you're covered by the terms of it. What the choice now is people have to affirmatively say, I also want to be a member of the IU. I also choose to pay dues. And they do that by signing membership cards with the IEA that says, I wish to be a dues-paying member entitled to all the benefits, because there are benefits that the IEA offers beyond just the protection of the contract. They offer, for instance, liability insurance and other protections to their members, but that's a members-only thing. And I haven't been there for 20 years, but I'm positive still that only members can vote on contracts and things like that. So only if you're a dues-paying member, you get to vote on the bargaining agreement. So those are some of the benefits of being a member. So what really is something to watch for, and this has started trickling in some of our client districts, is some people may say, I don't wish to be a member. And they may revoke their membership and say, I don't authorize dues to be taken out of my paycheck anymore. Those will be handled and processed by the payroll department. And so that the FEA will be involved in knowing who's a dues-paying member and who's not a dues-paying member. So that's really what Janice did, is eliminate the ability for a negotiated contract to say, even if you decide not to be a dues-paying member, you're still going to pay, basically it was an amount of full dues minus a set amount for political lobbying type activities. That's no longer an option anymore, so it's been automatically removed from your bargaining agreement. There's nothing more to do about it other than to see what the impact is. So are there specific questions anyone had from the board about what Janice does or doesn't do?
If we have somebody
And there was some language in Janice about affirmatively opting out. You recommending the board or school district that they, what does that mean for the transition, right? If we have to go through our payroll and get affirmative opt-in from everybody?
Well, I think, correct. I think what
we say, well, anyone who's fair share, we'll opt them out. But
yeah, remember, the fair share people are automatically opted out. And I think what you said initially was opt out, but I think you said it differently later. Opt-in was the language of the Supreme Court. The majority decision said you have to opt, you have to have affirmative consent to be in the union. The way that happens is that the association is going to gather those membership cards and then provide that to the payroll department and say, these people have affirmatively opted in to being dues-paying members, and here's the amount of dues to be taken out of their paychecks. Unless somebody comes forward and says, whoa, 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 that was wrong, I didn't opt in, we'll be relying on what the FEA says. I have thought about this in a lot of ways, and I don't see that you have to analyze every single individual signed membership card. I don't think the FEA is going to be in a position to say that you should take dues from people who have not authorized it, because quite frankly, that would be a violation of their First Amendment rights, and it's going to open up the FEA and IEA to liability. So I think they have a strong interest in making sure that the list they give at the start of the school year or before the start of the school year is accurate.
John, I was just asking about the transition though, so obviously new members, right, sell cards, and that's all fine. But did we, or should we, have everyone raise their hand for the opt-in to make the word fine?
Again, I think the FEA is going to be doing that. I know that most of the IEA and IFT locals have been going around and reaffirming their membership through membership organization drives. So again, I don't think you're at liability risk to say the FEA is the exclusive bargaining representative of the employees, and the FEA is certifying to us that these employees have affirmatively opted in. If anybody, like I said, if any employee came after the first payroll and said, wait a sec, why are their dues taken out of my check? I didn't opt in. I think then you can investigate those situations. And since it's simply a matter of a small amount of a pro rata share of dues being deducted, it could be refunded to somebody if it was taken in error.
John, you had a question?
Whether or not somebody opts in, they're still covered under the collective bargaining agreement.
Correct.
And they will continue to be covered under future collective bargaining agreements.
Correct. Yeah, but that's the difference between being a union member and a bargaining unit member. You're a bargaining unit member by virtue of taking a job and a title that is covered by the collective bargaining agreement. So that was the major union objection to this case, was we still have to represent everybody, even if those people don't pay. So that was what you heard of as called the free rider argument. These people are riding along getting the benefits of the contract, the benefits of the union's efforts, without paying any money towards the cost of obtaining those benefits. So that was the free rider argument. Justice Kennedy termed it the compelled rider argument.
So they're covered, but they can't vote.
If they are not dues-paying members of the IEA, NEA, they do not get to vote on the contract or anything else that the union takes a vote.
And that's huge.
There's been talk. Here's what's happening with some other unions. Operating Engineers Local 150, one of the most powerful unions in the state because they do the road construction. If you have a heavy machine being operated, it's most likely being operated by a Local 150 member. They have sued in federal court claiming that if everything the union does is free speech and that we can't compel people to associate with the union, then it works in reverse. You can't compel me as the union to represent these people. I don't wish to associate with them because they don't pay. That's winding its way through the federal courts. There's been no decisions on it. It's at the very earliest stages. It's being argued in the Chicago federal courts. There's also been rumors or speculation that there will be legislation that would change the union's duty to represent everyone to a members only union. So the only people out the union would have to represent are people who pay. And if you don't pay, if you get in trouble, you don't have a union representation. So that would have to be a legislative change. And right now, we haven't seen any push or initiative. That's going to be up to all of the labor unions statewide to decide if they want to try to change what's called the duty of fair representation from everyone in the bargaining unit to only people who pay. But, we'll see. That could depend a lot on the elections in November.
Any other questions? Any other questions on the phone?
No further questions.
Thanks for coming, Jeff.
Next item on the agenda, Flossmoor Library proposal.
Sure, we received an email from the Flossmoor Library Board, specifically looking for some assistance from the District 161 Board of Education. Just a little bit of background. I think over the years we've tried to work with the Flossmoor Public Library to serve the students and community of Flossmoor in a collaborative manner. This past year, we worked with the previous director on behavior expectations, not only at the Parker Library, but also at the Flossmoor Public Library. Held some shared presentations for students. We sent administrators to the library. I personally had at least 2 meetings, about 3 meetings, I would say, over there, just on different ways that we can work together. We've invited members of the Flossmoor Public Library to participate in the Capturing Kids' Hearts training at the beginning of the school year. And we received a proposal from the Flossmoor Public Library essentially asking for a staff member for 2 hours per day, from 3 to 5 in the afternoon. Roughly, it's about 176 days, plus or minus. I think it's minus a little bit, but just for the sake of this estimate conversation, 2 hours a day probably trigger the $30 per hour rate in the collective bargaining agreement at a total of $10,560. So there's no recommendation at this time. This is just for discussion and with your digital board packet. You should have received the proposal from the library. We do have members from the library here tonight.
Yes, please.
Hi.
Go for it.
I'll introduce myself. Thank you for listening, reading our proposal. My name is Nancy DeSavedo. I'm treasurer of the Flossmoor Public Library. Ann Theros is the president, and Natasha Bergeron is the secretary. And we'll be happy to answer any questions regarding this proposal.
Go ahead, are there questions?
Sure, I'd like to know, I think in it says that a library staff member would be partnered with the District 161 partner. Would you just tell us what you envision that partnership looking like and how they work together?
Okay, to start with, we have been probably providing programming to anywhere between 30 to, 60 children each day after school, which has now probably been going on between 2 and 3 years. I'm not sure really what was happening before that. And because of the number of children that are coming in, we've had to, and just the sheer number of them coming in at one time, we had to open up the lower level of the library in order for these kids to have a place to go. We also wanted a place, after much discussion, we wanted to have a place where they could be a little bit louder, where they could have a snack, where, not a hot snack, but just something to eat, so they weren't, bothering the other patrons in the library. But by opening up the lower level of the library, we began to take our staff that was not doing this before, and we need to have at least 2 staff members down there at one time. So there are many issues involved with this, but just pure and simple, we began to take staff members down to the lower level to take care of the kids that are downstairs. There certainly are some that are up on the second level studying, but probably more that are not.
So tell me about how you want the 161 staff member to work with.
Well, so one of our largest issues, and again, if you guys want to add anything, please do, is that we don't really know these students. We're not really, as a building open to the public, we really can't turn anybody away, but we really can't ask them any questions. You can ask names and so forth, but you might not get the correct name. We don't know who these students are all the time. We don't know what's going on at home. There's different issues going on. And again, with the sheer number of them, it's just become really extremely difficult to try and work with these kids. I mean, they're very hungry. They're very tired. They really don't want to study. They've been in school all day. They're running all over the library. We are developing another discipline policy, which
we weren't planning on them having to do that. They were basically going to be the second person, and they would be familiar with the kids. Maybe even one of these new people that you're going to hire, the social worker, so that, I mean, they could be a lot of things, but mostly there as a second body and person for these kids.
Supervisory role.
Supervisory, and also that, you know, they would actually know these kids, and, you know, it's not our intention to try and take the kids out, but at the same time, we are open to all patrons, and, you know, they are studying or using the computer or whatever, and it is really disruptive when you have an influx of between 30 and 60 preteen and teenagers come into the building for that time. So we've opened this basement up. They really enjoy it, but we're having trouble staffing because that's not really what we had anticipated.
We've also, just to mention, we've spent probably since January, Nancy and I, just also looking at other school libraries that are close and finding out what they do. And this idea of having almost like a student liaison or an advocate, somebody that works with these kids on a day-to-day basis and then is familiar with them. Having that extra person to kind of be, you know, there for these kids. Because a lot of the time, we have our youth director, or youth manager who has really gotten to know these kids, but it's taken a lot of time. She's amazing. I don't know if you guys have met Hannah over there. She really does a great job, but she is worn so thin. And, you know, she's really supposed to be working on programs for these kids. So it's like, you know, ideally having somebody to do something in tandem with her. And realistically, you know, we've spent the last year trying to reach out to the village and the park district, and 161 has been most receptive, and we appreciate that. So we're hoping that, you know, even if the proposal isn't, you know, the perfect solution, that you guys could even, you know, give us your ideas as to how we can partner moving forward.
So I think part of the challenge will be those teachers working 3 to 5, that then becomes a 10-hour workday. And in a building the size of Parker, they will not know. They just won't know everybody. It's really possible. Did IJP, did 153, did 233 teachers share proposals with them?
No, actually we didn't, because we were the most receptive. Parker also, but, you know, we're very amenable to doing that.
Sure.
And we're not just going to come to you. We really think the village, we really think the park district, we really think IJP should be welcome as well. But the vast majority of kids are coming from Parker. I would say 80–90% of the children are coming over from school. And so, you know, you are the people that we feel have the most invested because they are the students coming from, you know, junior high.
So basically, you're not looking for a structured person to come in and help with a structured program, more of a supervisory, but I heard you mention something about youth programs and working in tandem with that. I'm just trying to really, is it more just a situation that you're overwhelmed with a number of kids and you're utilizing your staff to water?
We are very much overwhelmed. We're also, like you, we have a budget that we deal with every year. We're at what we consider between 65 to 70% of our budget is staffing. It's not something that we as a board feel that we can exceed. You know, just to mention, I got my second tax bill, and my, you know, my,
Yes, Steve.
my taxes for the library are about 0.6%. So I paid $600.
Steve.
The park district, I paid $900. And Parker Junior High, I paid over $6,000 in taxes. So, and that was just my second quarter. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't think, you know, I don't know who says the taxes and multipliers and all of that, but I do think there was a time when, you know, a library was a great, quiet place that people came to and they studied. And if you read the news, libraries are dealing with huge social issues now, opioid overdoses and homelessness. You know, we don't have a large homeless issue, but we may at some point. And just this giant influx of kids. And we are certainly not the only ones. We've had great discussions with other libraries. We are in the process of looking for a new director. We're hoping that she or he will have a lot of energy to put into programming and retraining the staff. But yes, we are looking for support because we really need it. And we really, at this point, as a board, don't feel that we feel that we're here, you know, that we are here to support you as Parker Junior High board members, but we also need help from you as well. And we've been struggling for at least 2 years now with this.
What I will say as a parent, I have a daughter who just graduated from college, so probably about 6 or 7 years ago when she attended Parker, I went to the library a few times because she went there to study. And I was one of those parents that just didn't let my kids just go anywhere. I went there too. And there was an influx of students there, and you know, you are right. A lot of the students knew each other, and I know my daughter, she told me a lot of the students were from her school. So, and particularly at that time, there was security there too. And I remember another day that I came there with her, and something happened. So I know I went downstairs, she was upstairs, and something happened with a group of students, and then there was security, and the security guard, he happened to be someone, and I won't say a security guard, security personnel. He was there, he happened to be a security person at HF, and he was somebody that I had kind of seen in passing, and he was very overwhelmed because there was a lot of students there at that particular time. So I know what you are saying to be true, and yes, it does take a village, and you know, certainly it would be you know, something that, you know, definitely you know, just trying to find out if, you know, I know that your personnel is taxed, but you know, if there was more of a structured kind of setting, and I know you're saying it's not like school, you're just looking for somebody to help with this influx
right, and we
of
have,
young people.
Yeah,
and one thing I do want to ask,
sure.
Are you having any security concerns because you have a large number?
Oh yeah,
of
we do.
youth? That's what I thought.
Yeah, but I would have to tell you that we did try different programming ideas, and there wasn't that much interest. But we're hoping that when we have this new director, that person will have experience in this, because Natasha and Nancy have spoken to other library directors from Oak Park Forest, right, and Forest Park, who also have middle school kids that come after school, and they have just changed the way they look at it, and they have programming that the kids are interested in. So that's where we're aiming, so that we'll have programming that they'll want to participate in. But right now, we just need assistance to, you know, work with the kids. And we thought if it was someone from Parker, even if they weren't one-on-one, you know, with the students all the time, they're used to dealing with students of that age, and that would be different than most of the staff.
And also, just to speak to the security, we've gone over, like 2 years now. First, we went back and forth with having like a hired security company, and we just felt like, you know, that was very intimidating to the kids, and that having somebody that knows them, is familiar with them, can be on their same level, is going to reach them much more than any sort of, you know,
right, and so we train them, and you know.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Then do you see this as a temporary position?
Well-
Or is this something that you think you want, I mean, depending on what the director might bring? What do you think?
I think it's a work in progress. So for us to say that, you know, we want this now forever is not true. You know, it's something that a solution that we think might help us quite a bit and help the students. But it's something that we would obviously review, you know, in the middle of the year, at the end of the year, if it was not a good program or if it was not cost effective, you know, you start over again. It's constantly a work in letting the kids, which I'm not sure why, again, because my kids all went to Parker and each other, so right, to leave the school at 2:30, one of the unintended consequences are these large group of really young kids, 12, 13, 14, whose parents aren't around. And a lot of them say, we don't want you coming home, we don't want you coming home with a group of kids, we're at work, and, go to the library. And, it's a pretty safe place and so forth. And we, of course, want to welcome them, we want them there, but we also need some help.
Are there any questions from folks on the phone?
I have a question. Wondering, I think this question probably for Dana is, do we even have the right person to do this? I'm envisioning we need somebody that's going to be able to work 2 to 3 to 5. So we need to, I know we haven't really defined what the duties would be, but if we even have someone on the roster that could do the job.
Right now, I don't know that you could get one. I don't anticipate one person taking that job. Realistically, it would probably be anywhere from 2 to 3, because again, those partner teachers are coming in at 7:15, and we can't get people there at 3:15 anyway, or 3 o'clock anyway, because it's still under the contract day. So now we're talking anywhere from 3:15 to 3:30 to 5:30. I think it would be multiple people if we're looking at District 161 staff members. That also would limit, those people couldn't coach, they couldn't do other stipend positions that we have. And so you've again limited your pool of people who would be willing to take that position. So I'm not sure who would. Excuse me.
I have a question regarding this.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, so my question is, this LT's proposal, and hearing the conversation, is there some other value that teachers are getting from this, such as, the library giving them some sort of certificate in being a librarian, or, I know that, certainly library science is a whole master's degree that several people in my family have actually gotten. Is there something that the teacher could add to their marketability that would attract them if put the time in, such as, again, some sort of certification program through the library, through their training that will allow them down the road to carry that somewhere else?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Well, I think you would have to.
I'm just looking at the stats. As you said, if you take this, you are not taking a recognizable after-school activity that typically teachers start with in those schools, where other schools, hopefully, of course, you are teachers forever. They're fantastic, but just in terms of, attracting teachers to build their own resume, professional resume, I think that it might be worthwhile to think on the libraries and to see if there's something that they develop for teachers beyond the benefits. I think it's very generous, and I'm fixing that. But, not just for extra money that teachers do these.
Well, I guess I'm not sure, but I think that, obviously people get an MLS, which is a Master's of Library Science, and then we could also do the research whether, working within the library would go towards some kind of, work towards an MLS. I wouldn't just say, no, it's not going to do anything for them. But that would be something that would get more researched.
They can put it on their resume,
Right.
I think you're at the point where you just, maybe there are teachers that are looking for extra money. It's just, You have to ask, you know, ask, you're not gonna find that.
I have a real, this probably sounds real crazy, because I know the role of the library has changed over the years from when I was a kid, so it definitely, and I live in Hazel Crest from Grand Prairie, and I know they're seeing the same kinds of things. I can tell by the number of kids that are coming in here as well. So, and forgive me, because I'm not up on this. This is not my field of expertise. So I just kind of just want to know, as a parent and just somebody out there. So is it because of the structure that the library is a public place, and because it's a public place, and you see the same children there day after day after day, and parents, a lot of places charge for after school and before care. So as a library, because you're a public entity, you could not even begin to approach that on a level. You're seeing the same kids every day and their parents.
We can't turn away anybody that comes into the library. It's a public building. It is and
So that,
you know, I guess we could potentially have the class if we have to pay a fee for art supplies or something. But no, we can't do that. We're not the park district. We really are a public building that's open to the public. So
About a kid, or my kid, I'm just throwing this out. Can come there every day, same time, whatever. You can't refuse them. You can't tell them to get out unless they're being totally on the rules.
I mean, we have patrons that come in and use it as a workplace. They come in every single day and sit in the same place that work all day long.
Like an office.
Yeah, like an office. I mean, but this, you're not paying as much taxes to the library as you are to the school district, but this is your building. This is for the kids. This is for the kids. So, yeah.
And these are also kids who, if you look at the list of after-school offerings that Parker offers, it is numerous. These are kids that are not taking advantage of these opportunities that are coming in.
We know also, too, we know we're going to offer more activities this year. So again, this is a work in progress. If it turns out, there's no kids coming, of course, we would not want to have a paid person there. I doubt that. They like to come there, they want to socialize, they want to talk to each other. It's, I had junior high kids, they're tired, they don't want to study.
Are you all providing the snacks?
I'm sorry?
Are you all providing the snacks that you mentioned?
We were a little bit at the beginning, but no, we're not. I mean, you have to, every board member has a different feeling. My feeling is there should be no food in the library at all, but I got a little bit. They're hungry,
As long as it's not hot food, like they can't bring in like pizza or something.
Because they did order pizza.
Yeah, they ordered pizza.
That's really fun.
I think just a group of kids who ordered pizza.
Yeah, they just
Oh, yeah. We would love for you guys to just come check it out. Come check it out after school. It's an experience.
When I was there 6 or 7 years ago, my daughter was studying, but it wasn't at this point.
Yeah.
It wasn't at this point.
It's pretty
I don't know why there's so many more kids. We don't know if there's two parents working or one parent working, or it's a 2:30 dismissal, or we just don't know. And again, in many ways, we're not allowed to ask.
Right.
We're not allowed. You're allowed to ask, but we're not allowed to ask.
Are you concerned that as you create more stringent consequences, you are eventually going to reduce your overall clientele because they won't
Well,
know
yeah,
that?
but if that's the case, those kids are going to be walking down the street.
No, I'm saying as they grow up as plus one residents and decide that the library is not a place to connect with. Because as we provide, that's, that would be something that we would have to talk about.
Well,
Because if we're hiring a staff member, we would probably want some say, frankly, into those consequences.
Well, I
and the way
think
that you
we
adjudicate some of them.
actually, can I tell you something? I think a couple of things. I think, yes, of course. I'm only speaking for one person. We have to talk about that. I think that we're willing to share certain costs with you. You mentioned something potentially about like we have to do contractual work with a lawyer. We would split that cost with you.
But as far as the discipline goes, it's not the vast majority of the kids that is in the rough. It's I think that if those kids are removed for their behavior, then the other kids will enjoy the library more. And I don't think they'll grow up with a bad feeling about the library, because, you know, most of them are not causing problems.
Are there any other questions or comments? So there's any, go ahead.
I didn't hear him.
On his comments, we can reiterate, like, in summary, some of the bullet points made that might be more helpful, but otherwise, from what I'm gathering, the issue seems to be about building relations, maintaining the expectations across our existing partner and grade schools, and also when they get into the libraries. And, certainly I think that is something that we need to keep working together on. But however this goes, tonight, I guess I'm going to stress the importance of the continued conversation, either as, fine-tuning a formalized relationship as described as a proposal, or, working to, constantly build that relationship as we are, as we're moving forward towards a moving target. Because even with each year, kids come through, it's only changed. And, that affects people that, depending on where they are. I also do think it's important that we, always try to keep our mission and our vision in mind in this conversation. Relying as much as possible and be mutually supportive, but that ultimately, again, wherever we go, I hope that we're going to continue this conversation and not look at this as a one and done thing. So that's all I'm
Thanks, Steve. So there isn't anything that we have to vote on today. I think we have a lot of things to discuss, within the board, and we can certainly have a discussion about it at our next meeting. But I agree. I think this is, I don't think anyone would disagree with anything that Steve just said. I think this is a great way to figure this out together and move forward. I mean, I think it's in both of our benefits to collaborate on this. I mean, Tosh and I talked about this a while ago, like, how awesome is it to have a problem of too many kids in the library, right? I mean, so we just need to figure out what that looks like and feels like so that it's beneficial to the kids who are there, to the other patrons who are, setting up shop every day. I mean, but I think this is the right track to figure out a way to deal with this collaboratively. So we just have to keep this conversation going, and we will certainly discuss the proposal internally.
Thank you very much, and, we're all willing to come to any meeting or write anything up that you would need and clarify anything, so, and it's not like one of the directors. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda, school handbooks. Well, next item under the discussion items list. So if there are any questions or things to be discussed on school handbooks.
So I will send another email concern that I sent you about version, because I know Cam had a document that he made notes on that was shared, and that's not on the most updated version that I have. So we will send those out by tomorrow, and then we'll have additional.
You're referring to the Parker handbook?
Correct.
Right, okay, I think that would be very helpful. I think it was a very unfinished version that we were looking at.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Construction update.
I have some questions. I'll let you go first.
I guess where we're at, as you know, there's a rack on Flossmoor Road. It is there because the roofer is not a union roofing, they're not a union shop.
Is there anything you're going to tell us it's not in the report?
Not really, no.
Okay, why don't we go over, I suggest we go to any questions.
Okay. I wrote down just a few quick questions that I wanted to ask about this. And the thing is, can you just clarify for me, so do the vendors, do we do the bids for this, or do the vendors do the bids for any type of work this time?
So we did the bid for the entire project. Construction came in as the bidder for the construction, but they subcontracted a lot of the work. So they're the general. They subcontracted to Advanced Roofing for the roofing job, to Blackhawk for HVAC, to, what is it, Pace for the electricians. I mean, they have a whole bunch of subcontractors who do, very specific other work to make up that. But our contract is with Key.
Okay.
And as part of that contract, they're required to only hire contractors who are paying prevailing wage. They're not required to be union, they are required to pay prevailing wage. And I have all the certified payrolls for the subcontractors that show them paying prevailing wage.
So we don't specify that in the contract in terms of that, we don't make any specifications. The vendor actually handles the terms in regards to the hiring part, in regards to if it's not union, they dictate the case on that.
Our job was bid as not having to be.
Well, not, okay. Is that the majority of what our bids, or
Yeah. Prevailing wage.
prevailing wage?
Not
I know
required.
we voted on that.
Exactly. It's not required union, we require prevailing wage.
So, do you anticipate, I know you always say you don't really anticipate any exposure for us, anybody coming after them. I'm sure the union is upset because these are not union workers. But no exposure really for us, anticipating.
Our biggest exposure is the potential of other workers refusing to cross that picket line.
So we can't get that off, we can't get that. So that's like, if that's on my front lawn, we cannot go after the people that's, I know this on my front line, I'm dealing with it differently, but I'm just kind of trying to look at it in that picture. You cannot do anything about that. That has a right to be. And is that because of how all of this was set up on our end, or?
I've had rap for tuck pointing work. Scott's had rap for another roofing job. It's pretty much business as usual.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
We are moving along.
I did this, quick before, we did have several, opportunities in previous meetings. I think if everyone brought up any issues, that they wanted to bring up, if we did have the opportunity, across a number of meetings in the springtime. That is correct. Correct?
I'm not sure I understand.
I don't think we understand your question.
Okay, my question is, if you actually, I think if there, I don't have any questions, that's fine. But my only comment is that, I think that if there were, concerns that people had, that were not related to, an issue that happened in the job site, I think there were several opportunities in the springtime for people to bring them up. That's really my only comment, and that's what I really have to say about the subject, I guess.
It was public good.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Summer Academy update.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So it's my pleasure tonight to share with you an update of what is going on over at Western Avenue for our Summer Academy this year. We put some pictures in the presentation of our students looking adorable. Here they are being read to by Mrs. Wallace. So just a general overview on some facts. Our total enrollment is 405 students this year. That means a student who is enrolled in any summer academy program, whether it be virtual, Elevate, Kinder Prep, or in person. So last year, our total enrollment was 376 students. The big difference between last year and this year is the absence of the Language Stars program. Last year, there were about 79 students enrolled in that program. This year, we did offer foreign language through Elevate, but due to low enrollment, we just went with the coding for Elevate. There were not enough students for Elevate to hold a full class on foreign language. So our in-person is 367 students attend school every day. Some of those students are also enrolled in virtual academies, so a couple of those students come to school all day and then also do virtual tutoring on their own time. Our summer academy for virtual is 55 students this year. That is slightly down from last year when there were 78 students enrolled in virtual. But this year we do have, of course, Kinder Prep. We have 37 students about to enter kindergarten who are attending Kinder Prep every day. We have 34 teachers, 15 paraprofessionals, and of course our bus information is there as well. So as far as enrollment, we are quite full. We have a lot of staff members, we have a lot of students. Our attendance has been quite good. We've only had a few families who had, an extended absence for a vacation or something like that. But in general, most of our students have one or less absence if they are attending in-person summer academy.
How many students did you say we had last year?
376 enrolled in any program. This year, 405 in any program. Pretty much in line as far as the virtual versus the in-person percentage. So as far as mandated students versus our recommended students, we'll talk about that when we get to the timeline. So if you have questions about that, please hold off. As far as our day-to-day, our students arrive every day at 8:15. The majority are taking the bus. They line up outside of Western Avenue along their classroom numbers that are spray painted along the ground. Their teachers meet them outside and bring them indoors, the closest door to their classroom. Students are allowed to bring a snack as well as a water bottle, especially in the heat. We have 1.5 hours of math and 1.5 hours of ELA instruction every day. Each class has a built-in 15-minute cooling break in the air-conditioned media center, and those breaks rotate on a daily basis. So first grade isn't always at 8:45. Some days first grade is at 8:45. Some days it's towards the end of the day, so everybody gets fair usage of that room. Some teachers have decided that on a day when it's not particularly warm, they would prefer to take their students outside for recess on those days. So some classes have been taking advantage of that. Our dismissal to the buses is at about 11:30, and then our buses are usually rolling out no later than 11:40, and our bus routes have been clearing between 12:30 and 1:15. The latest was 1:20. The earliest was 12:25. So as we continue through the weeks, our bus routes are clearing faster and faster, and the bus routes are going smoother. As far as our process for our timeline and preparing for Summer Academy this year, all of our planning began in March. We met with, of course, the Department of Curriculum and Instruction, Mrs. Marty, who was our summer school administrator last year, Mrs. Lappin, of course, for special education, Susie Fox, and other pertinent people, whether it be Tony for technology or Scott for facilities. We had a variety of meetings to prepare for the things that we were going to need for the summer. In April, we sent some general Summer Academy invitations to everyone in the district, just about when Summer Academy would be, where it would be, that everyone was invited. Personalized invitations were sent at the end of April. These were for our recommended students and our mandated students. So to clarify the difference, mandated students were students who have received on their report card in a core class more than one U as a quarterly grade. So for instance, if a student had a U in math quarter 1 and then a U in math quarter 3, they would be mandated to go to Summer Academy. A student that is recommended is students who either they're struggling in school, their teachers have recommended them for one reason or another, struggling in class, or they're at the 35th percentile or below on their NWEA in the wintertime. So those students are recommended, mandated as a result of failure. And we talk about some numbers there. This year we had 0 students in K through 5 that were mandated. In 6th grade, we had 24 students that were mandated. All of those students except 2 attended. We had in 7th grade 23 students that were mandated this year. All of those students but 4 attended. In 8th grade this year, we had a unique opportunity for our students to attend the summer academy at either Bloom High School or HF's Bridge program. So working with their administration, we created a pathway for students who have their summer academy classes at their high school to actually receive some organizational support for what they would need going into school in August to start with, as opposed to doing remediation at Parker. We had 21 students who qualified for those programs. Out of the 3 students that needed to go at Bloom, all but 2 attended, and 15 of 18 attended at HF. So out of our mandated students, almost all of them in each grade did attend. So as far as the recommended list, again, those were students at the 35th percentile or below. That was a lengthy list. We sent those out to each building principal, who then shared them with their teachers at each grade level and had a discussion with each student on whether or not that student would truly be benefiting from going to summer academy, if they should be receiving that recommendation letter, or if they should not. So I believe we've sent about 300 recommended letters district-wide.
What happens if a student who is mandated does not attend?
So for 6th and 7th grade, retention is recommended to the parent because typically this is a student who has struggled. They've been given an opportunity to get the remediation they need to be successful in the next grade. That'll be an individual conversation between administration and those parents. Now granted, a couple of those parents we do believe are moving out of state. So we believe that's why the parents did not choose to send their student to summer academy. There's one for sure that I know of, but that'll be an individual conversation. So moving on to May, we started our registration. Registration forms were accepted, either students turning them in at their elementary school offices and getting inter-office mail over to Parker. We also had an in-person registration night at Parker until 6:30. And teacher and paraprofessional final staffing was then based upon those registration numbers so that we could start getting class rosters going. By June, the first week in June, our class rosters and all of the bus routes were built. That information was then mailed home to parents via Skyward and also in the mail so that they would have a copy of their students' registration, their teacher, the classroom number, and their bus route and stuff. June 14th was the Summer Academy Planning Day. This was a PD day for teachers. That same evening, there were 2 info sessions for parents that took place at Parker Junior High. We had a 1-hour meeting for our virtual parents and a 1-hour meeting for our in-person families as well, where a lot of parents, if they hadn't received their letter yet, were able to get their bus route information for the following week. We also distributed an employee handbook, which was a very detailed day-to-day operational procedure outline for our teachers, so there would be no confusion on the day-to-day activities on what to do, where to go, how to handle an early dismissal, how to handle the cooling center, those day-to-day activities. July 26th will be our end of summer celebration. I just got confirmation today from the Flossmoor Fire Department. They will be bringing over the trucks and the equipment for the students. They will be parking behind Western Avenue. Each group of students will have playtime outside, will have games, Italian ice, and they will have a chance to check out the truck, try on the coats and the equipment, and hear from our first responders. So it's going to be a fun community event on the last day. As far as the curriculum, for in-person, we are using the VMath for math and LitCamp for ELA, which are the same programs that were used last year. There's a pre and a post test for each unit, given at each grade level. The teachers are then going to be able to provide a progress report at the end of summer to each family on how those students are doing on each of those modules. For Virtual Academy, Khan Academy is used for math and G3000 for ELA. The teachers are emailing each family once a week with the modules for that week, as well as the progress of the student for that week. their strengths, their areas of growth, which modules they've completed, and how many minutes they spent on each module. So the parent can then see, did my child rush through this in 30 seconds, or did they take their time and do their best? For Elevate, for our coding class, they're using their Elevate Creative Coding Summer Camp format. If you've never seen Elevate, the way that it works is students sit in front of computers and there is a live tutor, kind of via Skype. They can see and hear the tutor on the screen through the headset, and the tutor can interact with them by typing things on the screen that the student sees. It can be as a group for the whole class, or just on one student's computer for like a more personalized comment or direction on their work. They also receive project data at the end of each module as well. Here we have some pictures, one got flipped. We've also had, this is our kinder prep on the right. They do a dance every morning, so if you walk through Summer Academy, you'll get to hear the song. It's very adorable. We also have had a couple of our 8th graders who are incoming 8th graders decided to come in and do some community service, reading to our 2nd graders there. Another fun tidbit that we had this year is we had several Golden Apple volunteers from the Golden Apple program. They've helped us out the entire first 3 weeks of school. As a part of their teacher preparation program, they're required to come into schools over the summer and do a variety of teacher observations. They also taught a lesson. They helped us with our busing. It was really great to have young, soon-to-be teachers being able to experience all grades from pre-K and all the way through 7th grade. So as far as progress reports, all teachers are going to present each student with an end of summer progress report on July 25th. They're going to list the ELA and math strengths and areas for growth for each student. Those progress reports are going to be shared, one copy with the summer school administration, one copy with the parent, and then one copy that we're going to retain for our records so that we can share those with the elementary school principals so they can see how their students performed this summer as well. I'll just keep the part that wants to bring it back. So students are not taking NWEA at the end of Summer Academy. Their spring scores were recorded in our master spreadsheet. Their fall scores can be added at the end of the close of the NWEA window so that we can take a look to see how Summer Academy did or did not impact those students who attended. We also have created parent-student satisfaction surveys that we give to our parents, students, and teachers during the final week of school, and we can share out that data for satisfaction at a later date.
Can you go back, because what does their fall scores will be added to the close of fall?
So after fall NWEA takes place in, I'm assuming September, October, we'll then add their scores into our Summer Academy master spreadsheet, which has their spring scores from the spring that just passed.
So you'll just put it on the spreadsheet?
Yes, and of course we can share the growth as we start to see those trends, if you'd like an update later on how Summer Academy did or did not impact the 405 students who attended.
Are we still tracking, Haley, those math students from last year?
I mean, we still have it compared to these, so we still have the data. So we definitely can still track them.
I think each year we should go through a process to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the work that you guys are doing each summer, what's working, what's not, and obviously the best evidence of whether or not something is working is, if you're able to actually look at growth from a set of students from year to year, so.
Yeah, I agree. The challenge then would be filtering, I suppose, from one year to the next, who did not attend, so that we can look at a really good cross-section. But that's possible.
You can build it in 5 minutes.
Great. So as far as moving forward, opportunities for improvement, the late registration, parents who registered late, sometimes getting them onto the right bus route means they didn't always get their information as quickly as we would have liked, leading to some panic phone calls the day or two before school started, asking when should my child be at the bus stop, what is their bus stop. So obviously the earlier we can get all of those registrations finalized, the faster that we can get that bus route information to parents, and the more solid that will be on the first week of school. As far as buses, Those bus routes, the late additions, did lead to a little confusion during weeks 1 and 2. We had a couple of buses roll up late in the morning, a few not quite completing their routes as quickly as we would like at the end of Summer Academy. We wrote a script and a procedure for our bus aides that was added on day number 2 to get our bus aides more involved in helping the students on and off the bus at their appropriate stops, especially the younger students in kindergarten and kindergarten. Some of them their first time ever on a school bus. So things that we might address for next year, there are some opportunities, I think, for streamlining the registration, payments, getting parents in, getting students into rosters a little bit more smoothly so the information can be shared with parents in a more timely fashion. And then that scheduling and bus route communications. A lot of parents had the comment that they could receive the schedule of the bus route in the mail. So making sure that we over-communicate, I think, would be best. Okay, we'll send it via Skyward, we'll send it in the mail, maybe we'll find a way to do a phone blast. That would be an opportunity for parents to get, if they miss one communication, others will come, so that kind of reduces the confusion. Did anyone have any questions?
Well, I think another potential area for improvement for next year is, and I don't think you just said this, but when you roll this out, because what month did you say information finally went out and when registration happened? I mean, is there a way for us to roll this out a month earlier than you did and have registration occur earlier? I mean, so just a potential for improvement could be the timing and all this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, and I also think another opportunity would, the faster that those winter NWA scores go in, we don't necessarily need to wait to compile that list of recommendations. Once we know the scores and we know who's under the 35th percentile, there's no reason why we can't start adjusting that a little bit quicker.
And just out of curiosity, and I don't know if this is a question that you can answer or whether Annabelle can answer, do we have a sense of whether or not the number of recommended students has increased or has it been decreasing?
I would have to look at last year's numbers to be able to give you any kind of solid answer on that. I do know that it was a large number at first, which then got whittled down as we started to look into students' report cards. I would assume the same thing probably happened last year as well, that the initial list is larger than the actual list by the end of the editing, but I would have to look up the numbers.
And what happens in the editing? What gets a kid off of that list?
Well, we had a couple of students who tested below the 35th percentile but had straight A's. So a situation like that. Should a student who is exhibiting a high work ethic and doing very well in class but not necessarily testing the greatest, be put into summer school to do remediation on the skills that they're mastering in the classroom. So the teachers would have those discussions at their grade level teams, at the elementaries and at Parker, and then that sort of thing would eliminate some students.
Was there what caused them to be mandated? 2 U's in a term, right? And then there
In
was
a core
class. And then, did you look at NWA for mandated as well?
Yes, typically they were already on the recommended list, although not always. There were a few outliers there. But for instance, there are some students who were not on either list that I would like to look at different ways that we can do outreach in the future. Like for instance, if you receive a U in math quarter 1, and a U in social studies quarter 2, and a U in ELA quarter 3, and a U in science quarter 4, technically you're not mandated. I mean, maybe you're scoring somewhere in the 50th percentile, so maybe you're not recommended either. So I would like to look at, some different ways to cross-section that to figure out if a student has a U, is it a one-time thing? Did they just not have a very good quarter? Did something happen at home? Were they adjusting to a new school or a new grade? Or is there really something going on there? And comparing that with the test scores, I think would be an interesting conversation to have. But I would say that of the mandated students, almost all of them did attend, and we've had almost 0 problems. The students are making progress.
Why 35th percentile? Because 40th percentile is not good, and 45th percentile, I'm just curious. I mean, I get that we're capturing students who are the most challenged with this test, but what's happening with the students who are between 35th and, 55th percentile?
Those are the ones that I would like to look at. It's my understanding that the 35th percentile is where we put students in interventions, and that Summer Academy is a good intervention to add to the intervention students that are at that level are already receiving during the school year. I would agree that it could be expanded.
Something to look at next. I mean, because my guess is we're probably missing a huge portion of students in our district by having a 35th percentile.
The challenge is pay for it. We can raise that number, because we currently do 35% as our intervention essentially cut off. So we can raise those, absolutely.
You said that 300 letters went out, right? It was 300 kids that were below 35th.
I would also say that one of the challenges, if we were going to expand the lease space, we're using every single classroom at Nook and Cranny at Western right now. So we would have to look at, if we expanded, figuring out if we're going to have like multiple sessions, morning and afternoon, how we're going to spread out the students. So I think we should have as many as possible, especially students that are below grade level or students who need interventions. But the other issue is where we're going to put them, because right now we have a full school.
A lot of this business.
We'll figure it out with 5 lab, right? Okay. 5 lab, right.
Put it into the data warehouse.
That figure tag is better. Any questions on the phone?
No, it sounds like a very thorough examination of our Summer Academy data. And I agree. I think this is, something that Bio Lab will offer some input into. I look forward to that. With all the other stuff Bio Lab is doing. I guess I just want to reiterate what Ms. Norton said about, really looking at where kids do down the road. So looking at the longitudinal, study about, what happens of kids coming through. In the past, we've had, growth numbers go around that didn't really seem to necessarily justify people enrolling in Summer Academy over the summer. And I do think it's important we have some, a reasonably observable and consistent way to determine our effectiveness. So I guess I would just reiterate what was previously said on that, and that that's as much as we can to look into that. The other thing in terms of the 35%, I just wanted to clarify, is that 35% in our district or 35% based on a national index?
It would be the national norms, the 35th percentile.
Okay. Okay.
I have one quick question. I just want you to verify. Now, on the slide of Mr. Narcos, it said 432. You said that your attendance was 405. Did you deduct something from that 432? Or 405? Is that Ken project working on?
Oh, Kinder Prep.
Kinder Prep, okay.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do know that Ms. Hartman, certainly on this presentation, but also obviously Williams have taken this project seriously and have devoted a lot of time and effort. So excited to see where currently, but also the results. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Will we have a report in the summer on Kinder Prep?
Oh, absolutely.
In the summer or early fall?
I would say early fall, we may have better results from University of Chicago, because they won't do the testing until probably August, and then we'll catch up the rest of the kids up once school starts.
And you're not going to want to hear this, but
Okay, no. 5 levels?
so we'll code all of our summer school students as summer school We'll also code our kindergarten prep kids in Skyward as kinder prep. So that as we're running reports, if we want to check their year-over-year growth, or if we want to see where they're shaking out once they get to 6th grade math, for example.
Very good.
Yes. I'm also sitting on the panel at the national conference for Forecast 5 to share how we will be using data at the elementary level. So,
Dr. Smith is excited about
all of our
you haven't figured it out. Okay, next set of items are all action items. The bills are submitted for approval by the Board of Education each month. And this month, Mr. Simmons was asked to review the bills for the month of July and have the opportunity to review them prior to the meeting. Mr. Simmons.
I move that we approve the bills in the amount of $2,079,318.70 for the month of July.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Paredes? Nelson?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Yes, and the motion is passed. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the payroll for the month of June in the amount of $3,273,850.81. Need a second, please?
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Nelson?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Worth?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented? Need a second? Roll call, please.
Blackman?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Worth?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion to approve the behavioral specialist position with a top range salary of $65,000 and the additional resource teacher position with an approximate cost of $49,000?
Second.
I need a roll call, please.
Simmons?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Worth?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion to approve the payment of the IASB dues for the 2018-2019 school year? Okay, I need a second. Okay, roll call, please.
Okay, so Carolyn made the motion and Steve seconded?
Yes.
Okay. Huckabee?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Paredes? Briggs?
Yes.
Worth?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing regarding subcontracting of District 161 security services? So, need a second? Any discussion, questions? Audience? Any questions, comments? No? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing portion, please? Second. Roll call, please.
Who made the second? Okay. Simmons?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Worth?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion now to approve the resolution for subcontracting security services? So, need a second? Roll call, please.
Okay, Briggs?
Yes.
Paredes?
Yes.
Huckabee?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Worth?
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion to approve the tentative budget for the 2018-2019 school year as presented?
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Paredes,
Yes.
Nelson,
Good.
Briggs,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Huckabee. Yes. Ford.
Yes, and the motion has passed. Can I have a motion, please, to move into executive session regarding matters related to personnel 5 ILCS 120-2. Second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. I was gonna say thank you all very much. How long are we going to be in there? 5 minutes, we have no